First of all, thank you so much. I was just telling Stacy that I feel like I've been waiting for this for 6 months, and the feeling I have inside of me is like complete gratitude, because the last 6 months have changed my life in ways that I didn't even know were possible. And while I was learning all of this information, it was you ladies, it was these ladies, specifically these ladies here, that I was thinking, I just need to tell them, I need to share this with them. So I'm here because 6 months ago I learned something really valuable, and it shifted me, but in the months after, I realized how important this is to bring to women who have very strong spiritual lives, women who have been really developed in their spiritual capacities, because now is the time for us to bring that all the way to the earth and actually push the earth. And astrologically, we're about to get Saturn into Capricorn, and we've seen all of those structures falling, and it is the time for the female, for the sacred feminine, for the female builder to begin building. And in order for us to build what we're going to be building, we need to be completely in our bodies. We really need to do it. And I'm actively, I have an appointment with Stacy tomorrow. I mean, even though this was a huge piece for me, what I'm about to share with you is a piece. There's more to it. And it was the linchpin piece for me. And I know it's a linchpin piece for a lot of people. All of the clients I've worked with in the past 6 months, it has shifted them dramatically. It has helped them to feel, one woman said, oh my God, I feel like I'm like connected with the core of the earth. And she's a horseback rider, and her horseback riding has shifted incredibly. Like, her relationships have started changing. Another woman's lost 40 pounds. Like, things that we've been trying to work on for years and years and years to finally shift. This is the piece that I'm seeing actually helps that shift ground and actually manifest and actually like push the earth in ways that I have never seen the earth pushed in my life before. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I discovered this and why I believe all of you will be able to benefit from this. And I hope that by the end of this, we'll actually be able to get on the floor and do it. Maybe not on this floor, but maybe back there. And because I would love for each of you to have an opportunity for this to happen right now, and it doesn't take very long. So I'll keep my story short, and then we'll get into it, okay? Basically, I went to a class called Neurokinetic Therapy, which is about the brain's connection to your movement patterns. And I discovered that whenever we desire to do something, so if you desire to get off that couch and go to the bathroom, your brain's going to tell your muscles to do a series of activities that will get you to the bathroom, because you have the desire to drive you there. So desire is always the first piece. Then, let's say you're walking to the bathroom and you stub your toe. You're still going to desire to go to that bathroom. You're not going to be able to use your foot the way that you were going to use your foot, but the brain is so adaptable that it will send messages to other parts of your body so that you can limp yourself to the bathroom. So now I'm limping like this, and I'm using my back differently than I would have if I was strolling. I'm using my stomach differently. I'm using all my muscles differently, but that's the beauty of the motor control center. It adapts to use the body in any way it needs to have our desires met, okay? This is okay in the matter of a bruised toe, because my toe will repair itself and I'll start walking regularly again. But when it comes to surgery scars, this is not the case. And that's why this is my area of specialty. And I'll tell you even more why I've narrowed into the specifics of what I have. But first of all, when we have a scar, our skin is cut, the fascia is cut, and the signal from the brain, from the motor control center that sends it to our muscles to move, it literally moves through this connective tissue called fascia, myofascia. And that fascia is like a shrink wrap around everything. It reaches every single muscle of our body. And when that fascia is cut and the scar tissue is in place, it's kind of like putting a line of wax in fabric and then trying to pour water through fabric. You know that the wax will resist the water. And the same is true for our fascia when you have scar tissue. The scar tissue acts like wax resist, and when the brain tries to move through the fascia to reach the muscles, it literally can't. And so we have a situation when we have surgeries where we've learned how to move our body to do the things we want to do, but even after we heal from that surgery, or that scar or that trauma, the brain still can't get a signal through the tissue. So we end up with chronic movement patterns that create stress in other areas of the body, and they become more prevalent as we age. When we're young, we can adapt. You know, young people usually don't feel as much pain right away. Usually a surgery that they had in their 20s is what flares up when they're in their 60s and 70s. And then they really feel a lot of pain, and they're like, oh yeah, I had that thing back when I was 12. Like, I didn't think that that scar would still do anything. But you know what? The things that happened to you when you were 2, 4, 12, it doesn't matter. Those scars are still there, and your brain learned how to move past the scar, and you adapted. Well, this information will help you to, that's not permanent. The scar tissue, wax resisting, is not permanent. The same way you can wiggle wax out of fabric is the same way you can actually work on scar tissue and then move the brain's connection to the muscles through the tissue and activate those muscles that weren't working. It literally happens within a couple of minutes, and it's not difficult. You just have to have the awareness of how to move the tissue and then activate the muscle beyond it. So for me personally, I went to this conference, and they were trying to demo on me. They're like asking me to, they were just testing my lats, they were testing my delts, and every single muscle they tried to test, I failed. My brain was not connecting cleanly to that muscle, because the way that they do the test is they isolate specific muscles. So you're only testing that muscle. I'm not testing the family of muscles that help me to move my arms around. I'm just testing my anterior delts. And my muscles all by themselves, they did not work. None of them did. I have something called global weakness. And this is very common in women who have cesarean scars or hysterectomy scars or any scar in the belly button, like a belly button piercing or a laparoscopic surgery, or any scar like from here to here. So this covers breast implants as well, okay? I have a belly button piercing, and that actually was the bigger troublemaker than my cesarean scar. So this is really common. And so basically what happened in the classroom when I was failing is I started having a limbic response. Heat rushed to my face. I almost started crying, because this has been an embarrassing situation for me for the 12 years before that. Before I had my son, I could climb mountains, I could climb rocks. I was very, very active. After my son was born, my body felt foreign to me, and I didn't know why. I had thyroid problems, I had postpartum depression. I ended up having terrible emotional problems in my relationships, which resulted in divorce. I dove deeply into my spiritual practices, shamanic stuff, past life regression. I was searching all over the metaphysical to discover what the hell happened in my past life that was creating all this terrible discomfort in my current life. Like, what karmic contracts do I need to clear, right? And I learned a lot. I learned a lot. And I know that this scar was the greatest gift that my life could have given me, because during that time, my consciousness expanded past the boundaries of my body. It expanded into areas that I would never have accessed before, and it gave me drive to discover parts of our reality that I would never have even thought about looking into. And so the last 12 years have been this amazing incubator for spiritual awakening. And what was driving me was the discomfort I had in my body. My body felt very uncomfortable. I would try to run on a treadmill and I'd get overwhelmed with my breathing, and I'd end up after about 6 minutes on the floor crying. I had panic attacks anytime my family would ask me to go hiking. Like, I literally felt like my body was a prison, and I didn't know how to be in it, and I didn't want to be in it. And it's a beautiful body. There's nothing wrong with it. I just didn't feel like I belonged in it, and I didn't know why. So I go to this conference, and I start, the embarrassing feelings flare up in me, because they're testing me in front of all these people, and they're like, oh, you have global weakness, and I'm like, no shit, so tell me how to fix it, right? And they asked me, do you have any surgeries? And I said, I have a C-section scar. And he said, okay, do not get on the table. Make sure you work with one of the practitioners, but you're not going to get on the table at all, because none of your tests are going to be clear. You're never going to have a clear test. You need that scar worked on. So the weekend goes through. I learn a lot of stuff. I work with a practitioner. She does a little bit of manual manipulation on my scar. She does a little bit on my belly button. She asks me to engage my abs. I get off the table, and she's like, okay, you're all good. I'm like, what? Like, you're not gonna like rattle me or some shit? You know what I'm saying? like, I don't get it. Like, am I supposed to do some sit-ups or something? You know? And she's like, just go home. So I felt, she's like, you might detox, blah, blah, blah. That night I slept really well. That next morning I flew home, and I felt pretty, like, nothing really changed, because I was used to not using my body in ways that these muscles would be engaged. I was very used to it. But as soon as I get home and I see my daughter, I went to pick her up and my body went, "Grrr," and I picked her right up. Like, I felt so strong. And I was like, whoa. And it usually felt like this little tiny baby was so heavy. Like, I always felt like she was going to slip out the bottom. And we were listening to Maroon 5 on the television, and she loves Maroon 5. So I'm like, oh my gosh. And I start dancing, and I'm like, whoa. Whoa, and I could feel the ground under my feet. I could feel the music in my body. I could feel dancing, and this is something I could not feel, and I didn't even know I couldn't feel. I thought I could feel dancing. I thought I could feel music, but I was not feeling those things. And when I got on the rowing machine, I was like, holy shit, I could breathe through my nose after 10 minutes on the rowing machine. Breathe through my nose, which I couldn't even do 30 seconds. So you can see how amazing it was on the forefront. What's happened in the months since are, okay, my practice, I was only able to take 1 or 2 clients a day because of my exhaustion level. I had crippling anxiety because I was afraid I wouldn't have the energy to show up. I limited all of the things that my heart wanted to do because I was afraid I wouldn't have the energy to do it. And that if I went past that point, I would fall on the floor crying. So I know, I recognize that this may not be as acute for all of you, but what I've recognized in the past 6 months is that these sagey women that I love, that I'm attracted to and that I surround myself with, many of you have scarring in the midline. Many of you have scarring at least somewhere, and I bet you can trace it back to pretty early in your lifetime. And if that scarring isn't physical, maybe it is emotional. And those scars shut down these areas too. If you guys all understand what the second chakra is responsible for, you understand what the base chakra is responsible for. Imagine not only that your body's cut, but your energetic centers are cut too. And no matter how many chakra clearings and cord cuttings and soul retrievals I did on this area of my body, it did not stick until I actually got this scar work and the brain reconnected to the body, because the body is really freaking important. It's really important. And I believe that in the evolution of our consciousness, we are moving to that place where we are so fully embodied that we go all the way to that end of that spectrum in order to come back to center. And we're in that time now. We're in the time of allowing ourselves to come all the way in. And I believe with all of the spiritual wisdom that we've accumulated in this lifetime, it's time to actually finish that connection, come all the way into the body, ground the shit out of it, and then do the thing that we came here to do, so that we can actually feel the fulfillment and in the embodiment that we've been wanting to feel. So if you do feel like this is for you, I'm very happy about that. If for any reason this does not resonate with you and you are not really relating to any of this, that is okay. You might meet someone tomorrow that is. And I want to teach all of you about this, because I believe that in the last 6 months I've been meditating. I've been using my spiritual gifts as well as these physical abilities. And I know that I have the strength, I have the passion and the verbiage and the ability to reach a lot of women. And I don't care how I do it. If I have to stand on stages, if I have to, show up in groups like this, which I am so grateful that I'm doing, because this is exactly what I want to do, I will do it. I'll teach you how to do it. I want to spread the word as far and wide as possible, so that eventually as many women who are ready, they can do this. There's like 1.3 million C-sections done every year.
But it wasn't just that. Before, when you talked to us, you talked about people that broke their coccyx.
People who broke their coccyx.
My sacrum is broke. And when you said that, I had a knowing that it's also, and lots of us did that when we were young, and gymnastics on the eyes, or childbirth even.
Childbirth. So childbirth
Like in the
sometimes breaks the
coccyx.
tailbone.
Yeah.
The pubic symphysis separates and doesn't always come back together.
Right.
These are, if you've had a baby, you likely have stuff that we can do. If you haven't had a baby, but you fell on your tailbone real hard when ice skating or getting in your car, you probably have this issue. And all of you are very spiritual women. My theory, my hypothesis is part of what creates a highly spiritually developed woman is a slight trauma or disconnect to the root and second chakra. And I don't know if it's absolutely true, but I have a pretty strong hunch that it might have something to do with it. And so, great, you guys have become these amazing living libraries, and now we can bring it all into the body, and you guys have already been doing your work. You've already been, like, I know you guys are so much more schooled than I am in all the things you've been serving, all the things you've been doing. But imagine if you could put even more of that physicality in. Imagine what you would do with a little more juice, a little more energy, to really take that sagehood and share it in the way that we really need to share it right now. We really need to be ready to show up right now. I have a feeling things are about to shift in a huge way, and the value will be in what we know. So, this is going to be pretty simple. You're going to sit in yourself right now and take an inventory of your physical scars. Okay, let's start with the physical. If you believe that something happened to you that may not have left a scar on the outside, but you feel there may be scars on the internal tissues, take note of that too, because there's a way to reach those scars without touching them physically. I mean, we're going to touch the outside, but we're going to access it through pressure, not through like surgery or internal whatever, okay? So think about it. Think about falling off your bike when you were 8. Thinking about having your tonsils out. That's really common. Maybe you got cut on your forehead when you're little, or you put your teeth through your lower lip when you were a baby. Like, these are all scars that we want to take an inventory of. The most common ones obviously are going to be hysterectomy, C-section, abortion, childbirth, appendectomies, belly button piercings, breast implants. Any scar that is near your belly button is going to be the highest priority. So go ahead and do that now.
Christina, one question. What about if you've had bone loss besides scars?
Are you talking about your spine or
No, facial.
facial bone loss? Well, if that may count as a scar, do you have loss of
Yes.
feeling?
Yeah.
Okay, then that's a scar. The people that I'm training with, they're saying tattoos are scar tissue.
Wow. Makes sense.
Stretch marks are scar tissue. That's the yes.
Stretch marks are crazy, have crazy, powerful energy in them. It's
So
amazing.
do tattoos. When you're scanning somebody, you've got
Yes.
tattoos. Even when they're covered, when they're fully clothed, I can feel it.
Yeah.
Ruptured appendix.
Ruptured appendix. So did they have to go in and clear it out? Do you feel any pain in that area?
No.
Okay, well, note it. It might leave a little bit of a scar in that space, and your appendix is right here. So we're going to keep it in mind. The reason why I'm having you do the inventory is because there's a little bit of a check. There's a little bit of a process to this, where you're going to have to feel inside your body and be like, oh, yep, that's much stronger. The way that we're going to do this after you do an inventory, and this is why it's so important for you to note every single one, because you don't know exactly which one's the troublemaker. And it could be a pair of them, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to find a place to lay on our backs, and we're going to breathe. While we're breathing, we're going to take a look at our diaphragms. We're going to see if our diaphragms might be facilitated, which means kind of compensating for everything else. If we can't take huge deep breaths and we feel winded very easily, likely there's some locked tissues in our diaphragm, and our diaphragm itself can act like a scar right across the mid, right across here. And so we're gonna lay down and feel our diaphragms. After we feel our diaphragms, we're gonna check for our strength. And the way we're gonna do that is we're gonna bring our knees up, and we're just gonna see how it feels with our knees in that position. We'll lay down and do it. I'll demo. And then after you see how strong you are, just like that, we're going to put pressure on some of these scars, and we're going to do a couple little leg kicks and see if it feels stronger. we know we're on the right one because as soon as we touch the right one, we're like, bam, like it feels locked. Like usually when we try to do ab exercises, it's like deep breathing, strain in the neck, strain in the back. Like we feel in our low back, we feel a little winded. It feels like, oh, I'm not very strong there. I need to do more ab exercises. But I was telling someone about, maybe it was Karen. It doesn't, like, let's say that we have pelvic floor issues. Let's say that we have, we want to make our abs stronger. And so we do all these ab exercises and we're, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Here's the problem. Your brain has the desire to get that muscle stronger. However, your brain can't even reach it. It can't reach through the scar tissue. So the more exercises you do, it actually makes your problem, the chronic pain, feel worse because you literally aren't connecting to the muscle you're trying to strengthen. It will not get stronger. You'll strengthen all the muscles that try to help that muscle, but you're not going to strengthen that muscle. And here's another kicker. If your abdominal muscles are not working properly, you're not taking craps properly. You're not digesting your food properly. You actually are going to have this feedback thing where you have to eat in order for something to come out the bottom because your muscles in there aren't actually moving things through the way that they're meant to. So there's constipation issues, there's weight gain issues, there's bloating, there's all kinds of stuff that goes on when your guts don't work properly. And not only that, but your internal centering, your internal grounding is going to feel a little bit off because you're not all the way connected there. So before we go in there, does anyone have any questions about things that have come up for them that they want to ask about? Might be scar tissue. Is everyone pretty clear?
I am so excited about this.
I know, let's go lay it out.
Yeah. Okay, so before, this is another thing. Today we're going to do this. This is step one, and basically it identifies that, yes, this is something going on for me. And if it's a lucky scar, if we find the troublemaker today, we can resolve it and you'll have homework and you'll do it on your own. It's the first layer. It's the catalyst, okay? And it will make a huge difference. I operated for 6 months just on that alone. I went to my class, I did a deeper level of this last weekend, and holy crap, like, I had no idea that also I had some other things going on that didn't have anything to do with scar tissue, but I'm dialing it in. I'm like tweaking my vessel in ways that I didn't even know I could. And it's getting stronger, stronger, stronger. And so this is the first thing, and it will be powerful. But if we don't find something today, we might need to dig in deeper one-on-one, and that is something that I do. But I do think that we can find something today that will help you. Okay? So
I'm coming to see you. Do you have cards and all?
I do have cards.
I'm scarred from here to here.
Right?
Then
Yeah.
we can do that one-on-one. But we can do some of it today too. This is the beauty of this is you can get results pretty easily. It's not very hard, and you just need to know what you're looking for. And I'm here to guide that. Okay?